Horror is a genre designed to scare and shock. The whole purpose of horror, at least when it's done well enough, is to unsettle you. So why then, when I play a horror game, do I feel like so cozy and warm? Am I broken? And if you feel the same way, are you broken? Well, no, we're not. We're going to get into the psychology and the science behind why we're not broken, but before we do that, I just want to reminisce. I want to take you on a trip back to, let's say, the mid-2000s. It was early in January and it snowed overnight. This will be unremarkable information for most people around the world, but if you're in the UK, snow is very unusual. Life essentially stops here when it snows. We are a country that is laughably ill-equipped to handle almost all weather conditions. And yet we press on. I was actually going to make a keep calm and carry on joke just then, but I feel like as a resident of this fair nation, it would get me forcibly ejected and, just thrown straight into the sea. And with good reason, to be fair. I mean, I'll probably go willingly. Just strap on my little inflatable armbands and whoop, just right into the drink. So this January morning, probably 2006, I get up, I see the snow, baffled obviously because we don't see it. And I think to myself, I'm going to reject all of my responsibilities today and just sit in front of this tiny TV I have and play Resident Evil 4 and drink hot chocolate. And that is exactly what I did. And let me tell you, to this day, it is one of the all-time coziest memories that I've got stored in this dumb little brain of mine. Not just with video games, but in life. Now, I could have chosen any number of ways to enjoy that day, to enjoy that snow day that I knew I'd be spending inside. But I was absolutely intent on making it a day where I enjoy horror games specifically. And I've made that choice many times because to me, horror games are wholly different experiences set apart from almost any other genre. I was really keen to explore if there was any separation between nostalgia and the coziness that I'm pinpointing here. Nostalgia is just inherently cozy and comfortable. The feeling I had that January morning, 18 years ago now, it's a feeling that I still have about playing horror games. It's a through line that exists separate from the rosy nostalgia of it all. That's my own experience, but I am simply some asshole on the internet. So what do actual smart people and science say about this stuff? Hello and welcome to my whiteboard. This is going to be like a scuffed Wendigoon sort of situation, so you're just going to have to bear with me on this one. I want to introduce you to the protective frame. Now, this thing is a theory introduced by Michael J. Apter in a book called The Dangerous Edge. It is a protective framework to sort of help your mind process horrific things or like things beyond your comfort zone that maybe you want to explore. So, I'm doing a really bad job of this. There's 3 categories within the protective frame. These are the 3 categories. The first category is the safety frame. The safety frame is the idea that within your mind, you know that whatever horrific things you see, whatever sort of media you're digesting through your mind, that you are in fact safe. So if you're watching a serial killer, if you're watching, I don't know, someone try and climb a mountain or something, you know within yourself you're safe because you're not doing that. So you've given yourself a safety frame within to sort of enjoy the thing that you're watching. Now the second thing, detachment frame. This introduces the idea that whatever you're seeing is probably more of a thing for like fiction. So a detachment frame, if you're watching like a horror movie or something, playing a horror game, obviously, you're processing the ideas that the things happening on the screen are not real. So in a horror movie, you might watch a horror movie and think to yourself, oh, that's just an actor. Like, I'm getting all freaked out, but that Michael Myers is just some dude in a suit, So that's sort of what a detachment frame is. Now the final thing, and this is where the pro gamers really come into play. So pay attention. The control frame. With the control frame, because like video games, I know, so books and movies you have control over, obviously, because you can put a book down, you can pause a movie. But video games, you have a particularly unique and dynamic sense of agency over. You can hit a point in a game where perhaps something particularly spooky is around the corner, and you can just stand there, you can double check your inventory, you can do whatever you want to put off the danger. Like, you could do that all day if you wanted. I wouldn't recommend it, it's not a fun way to experience a game, but you could do that. You could, in a lot of games, especially non-linear ones, you could just walk in the opposite direction. You'd be like, nope, just leave it behind. Inevitably you probably will have to come back to that thing, but the idea that you can control that and go off and do something else and sort of almost psych yourself up to then come back and confront the danger, that's all control frame, baby. We're in the control frame when we're playing video games. You've probably heard of the term fight or flight, but there is a step beyond that is called rest and digest, and it is broken down on a post by Psyche. That's PSICHI. This rest and digest dopamine response can aid in flooding your brain with this addictively calming hormone, while also helping you to feel better after this scary experience. I've suffered with anxiety for a long time, and I don't mean that in a sort of post-pandemic hangover kind of self-diagnosis sort of way. I was at 7 years old medicated with a drug called propranolol, which actively slows down your heart rate, which probably wasn't a good drug to be on for a developing child, but I was a wreck and have been quite a wreck for most of my life. So I'm right there in the trenches, and it comes as no surprise to me that I found my way to horror as a form of release and relief. I've actually talked in a previous video about how absolutely obsessed I was with survival horror games as a kid in the 90s. And with what I've discussed today in mind, of course I was. Of course. The experiences I had playing through those games were as therapeutic and comforting to me as any drug that any doctor had put me on as a kid. And I'd be willing to bet that, a lot of people who are similarly excited or interested by horror games also have an anxious streak in their history as well. If you're watching this, it's very likely you have. If so, and you're comfortable sharing, please leave a comment. Tell me about your experience. I may indeed simply be some asshole on the internet, but I have a long and storied history with mental health issues, so I'm always interested in hearing the experiences of others. On a closing note, like, share, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. But also, I'll be streaming a bunch of horror games on the lead up to Halloween. October is it's my favorite month of the year, so I don't just celebrate Halloween on one day. The entire month is Halloween to me. So if that interests you in any way whatsoever, follow me on twitch.tv/Laozi. Come be my co-pilot. Let's chat. And finally, thanks a lot for watching. I appreciate it, truly. And I'll see you soon.